fast forward to 2004 when the real big stuff starts happening for you. And I want to talk briefly about that's what I like about Sunday. But again, with the wordplay in this song, it's a story from beginning to end. Regardless of what genre you play this song in, you're gonna feel the story first. I feel right.
Right, yeah, exactly. I came from that. What brought me to songwriting was the lyric and the great Nashville lyrics, the twist, and you said wordplay and double entendre, and it's just brilliant to me. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
three meanings with one phrase can mean three or four different meanings. I mean, that's just genius to me.
Yep, and then trying to work through all of those meanings in 3 minutes, man. Like even that to me as a listener, a consumer, that is genius to me.
That is very genius. So yeah, Nashville songwriting had my ear. I was a famed Muscle Shoals writer, but we were getting our songs recorded mainly in Nashville.
Right.
It was country
And
songs.
just a geography lesson for folks out there who may not know: Nashville is not really that far from Muscle Shoals. It's almost
Really?
directly north, and I mean, you can get
Yeah,
there in less than a couple hours, if I remember correctly.
that
Um,
is correct.
so
And I've commuted in.
I remember appearing on a, or not appearing, but being on a radio station in Muscle Shoals in the morning, and then noontime rush. We were at one in Nashville, and then that night we were at one in Memphis. It was crazy, like how
Yeah,
close
it's
everything is,
so
kind of.
accessible. Like you mentioned before, these music centers. Muscle Shoals is in northwest Alabama. We have Memphis to the west, a
Hmm.
couple of 2.5 hours. Nashville, 2 hours to the north. If you want to go to Atlanta, it's only 4 hour
Hmm.
drive. So
And to be fair,
yeah,
like the blues of Mississippi and in southern Louisiana is not too far either. To be
it's
honest.
not far either, man. I love New Orleans, and yeah, only an 8 hour drive down there also, right?
So yeah, let's pick apart. That's what I like about Sunday a little bit. So first of all, just for our viewers and listeners out there, this was a song that was co-penned by Mark and Adam Dorsey,
Yes,
and
Adam.
it was released by Craig Morgan. The song spent 5 weeks at number one, was ultimately Billboard's number 8 country song for the entire decade of the 2000s.
Right.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
come at this at a little bit different, hopefully a different journey than you may be used to with this song. One thing I always found interesting about this particular song was the success of the song. Reportedly, it was the first ever, and you may not even know this, Mark. Maybe I'll teach you something, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably do know this. It was the first ever independently distributed single to have 5 weeks or more at number one. The first ever.
I did not know that. That's wow.
Yep, it's the first, and it might still to this day be the only one. I don't know that for sure, but I do know after research that it is again the first ever independently distributed single to have 5 weeks or more at number one. So first, tell us the story about how the song was conceived, and secondly, do you think it was what was it about the song that you think made it so successful, even though it kind of traveled an unconventional road to get to success?
The way we had the song originally, Adam Dorsey, my co-writer. Speaking of staff writers, I was working at a company called Jody Williams Music
Mm-hmm.
around the year 2000, 2001. And he was affiliated with Sony ATV Tree. So it was actually a co-venture with Sony and Jody Williams. So Adam Dorsey was another staff writer at Jody Williams Music. I
Okay.
was a staff writer there. Josh Turner was a staff writer there. Liz Rose was a
Oh my
staff writer
gosh.
there, all at the same time, who had like 20 Taylor Swift
Yeah.
number ones.
Liz
So,
Rose is
so it was a good
amazing. Oh my
stable.
gosh.
It was a real inspiring small company, but a really good stable of songwriters there. So Adam comes to me one day and he said, Adam Dorsey grew up in Los Angeles and liked country music, but he was not a country boy per se. And he knew I grew up in Alabama. And he said, man, I want us to write a song about what goes on in the South on Sundays with church and all these things. And he said, Mark, I know you know all about it. So we just set out to write a song. And he already had the hook. That's what I love about Sunday. So easy enough. We went to a Chinese buffet in Franklin. I came up to Nashville that day, and really, to me, important in the song was the rhyming pattern of the triplicate, the three rhymes that kind of fall da 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 Hyundai, da 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 one way, da 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 Monday, and then off, A
Hmm.
da 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 da. It was fun to put those three rhymes da 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 lampshade, da 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 Kool Aid, da 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 waylaid, and I'm making up weird things, but to me, those three, the triplicate rhymes, the A, and
Hmm.
then the B rhymes were crucial. It made it really fun and smooth. It made us really want to jump in there and write cool, interesting rhyming words.
Did the song fight you at all along the way? Because you know what I mean by, like, a lot of times you know you're onto something, but you're just a hair away from feeling like it's ready. Did the song fight you at all, or was it just smooth going all the
You know,
way?
song but before that, Chris, songs fought me so much I was fighting in the back. But Sunday did not fight us. We sort of wrote it all in one day. Like we started at the
Wow.
Chinese restaurant, then we went on to Music Row to Jody's office, and I know we overwrote. I mean, we were like having fun and making up crazy things like I was just doing, and we had just a plethora. And we knew we had the core, like 98% of it that day. And another thing you asked why I thought it was so special. Adam Dorsey was a big fan of Shenandoah and always liked Moon Over Georgia and always liked sort of my almost James Taylor. We talked about James Taylor before. Smooth vocal cadence, easy flowing, kind of cascading, really chill. And
Hmm.
to me, Moon and Sunday kind of have that James Taylor easiness about them, right?
Hmm.
Maybe.
Well, if you didn't know the songwriter, you would certainly. I would hope you people would hear the similarities in that. I mean, for me, I hear both of those songs. I know they came from you. I'm a fan of yours, so I know immediately. Like, wow, there's a lot of similarities there. But at the same time, the songs are obviously different enough that they're not in the
Right,
same
right,
box. You know.
right. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. But
So
yeah,
again, this I mean, I have to put this in perspective for maybe some of our younger listeners out there. Um, Today, there's hundreds of thousands of independent distribution companies. I mean, so many. Back then, not so much. To try to have anything independently distributed was, I mean, to keep it completely real, it was death for a song typically back in
it
those
was
days.
death. It was so rare to the point that my publisher, Jody Williams, he's a great guy and one of the most successful publishers in Nashville. But we were thinking, he said, okay, Mark, I've got some news. This was like at the end of 2004. He goes, Craig Morgan, on Broken Bow, which was an independent label, he's going to, I think he's going to cut our song and they're talking about a single on it. And we're going like, oh, well, it's better than a sharp poke in the eye with a sharp stick.
Yep.
It's an independent label. So that's what we're both thinking. Oh, well,
On to the
hmm,
next. Yep.
on to the next. Then, it really, after that, this thing started taking off and Broken Bow, they had a good promotion team there in house. And it just was taking huge jumps, like 5-notch jumps each week, or maybe sometimes 10. And me and Jody and Adam were looking at it like, we're not believing this.
Yeah, I can
It was,
imagine.
yeah.
That's
And then it
crazy.
gets like top 10, top 10, and then we're like, okay, it'll probably fizzle out at 9. And then it keeps going and it's 5 weeks at number one. And just the timing was right, for that kind of song. And I think it was still post 9/11, those positive, good
Hmm.
songs, good feeling songs, and they were still happening, weren't they? So I think it caught kind of the tail end of that little influx of of 9/11 positivity
Well,
songs.
not to mention, man, we're sitting here 20 years later. This is the 20-year anniversary of that song, and it is just as relevant today as it was back then. If you wrote it in the 70s, it would have been relevant then. And I mean, relevancy is really important in a song, and as I'm sure you know. But
Yeah, yes.
kudos, man, on a timeless song that will always be, and just an amazing song. A good question that could be here, I suppose, is what benefits and or pitfalls do you feel this song opened for you after its release? Was there good and bad, or was it all good?
With Sunday, by that point, because I was really hungry, it had been a long time again since I had a single on the radio. I don't think there were any pitfalls because I had been writing songs for 20 years, so I kind of learned the game and learned the ups and downs. So it was gravy to me. I sort of just sat back and enjoyed the heck out of everything that song was doing. And still 20 years that have gone by, it's been another calling card for me. I can say I co-wrote That's What I Love About Sunday, and people like perk up and yeah, let's write. So it really is a calling card, like Moon Over Georgia
Yeah. Do you
was.
ever get when you get this huge hit? Do you ever get tired of talking about it?
I never ever do because really songwriters, we don't have to do as much of that per se as like an artist would write
Mm,
a chorus because they talk every day about things all day long. So mine is kind of saved up like for every 2 or 3 or 4 weeks I'll do one of these, or maybe every 6 weeks. So I'm ready to talk about it. It's like the genie's let out of the bottle.
awesome. So here's a question I don't think many that gets asked very often, and I don't typically I wouldn't ask something like this because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's a question that I think people should know, or maybe for me, I'm very inquisitive, so maybe it's just me. But what's it like to have a song or a piece of art in general, whether it's a song or whatever that could be deemed as your masterpiece? In this case, it's That's What I Love About Sunday for you. Everybody knows it, but you, as the songwriter, still maintain relative anonymity. What's that like? That everybody knows your work, but not necessarily your face.
Yeah, it's kind of beautiful because I really never wanted to be an artist per se.
Right.
So it's been beautiful. Early on, I was telling you, I was playing in these Southern rock bands locally here, and I was always the lead singer guy. So I knew I had those chops at the time, young, decent looking. But the problem I had as a youngster was a shyness and social anxiety problem. And I knew my heart of hearts, I could not have done the rigors of the road and the meetings. So I felt like I was meant to be behind the scenes as a songwriter. So it's worked, and I've never regretted that at
Yeah.
all. People not knowing me, and sometimes I mean I will talk about it all day, but I sometimes I don't mention it. Like you're sitting at the mechanic shop reading a magazine, and people are talking about things. I never bring it up really.
Yeah, it's just it's cool. Like I have a friend named Heather Little. She's responsible for I don't know if you've heard of Heather, but she wrote Gunpowder and Lead for Miranda
Oh,
Lambert, and
yeah, I heard it this evening on the way to this podcast.
yeah,
I
she
sure
is
did.
absolutely amazing. And she told a story on one of my podcasts back in the day where she was working custodial work at the local high school. And she's literally in the bathroom cleaning a toilet when a girl comes in to use the restroom. And her song was the girl's ringtone on her phone. And
Oh
so,
my goodness.
literally, Gunpowder and Lead is playing while the songwriter is the next stall over cleaning the toilet.
That is one heck of a story right there, brother.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But she is out there now, and she's in Nashville now, and she's absolutely killing it. And I love to see it because she legitimately one of the best songwriters that ever existed.